Coming up, we talk Zika virus, Obama breaking prison sentences, and can Trump keep a secret? I don't know. Stay tuned.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, political culture.
Do see you bounce with me, bounce with
This
me.
is so funny. So I don't know if you guys remember this song. Well, first of all, hey, welcome to the show. We have Bow Wow playing here, and I don't know
Bow Wow
if you know
is
him.
officially retiring. That's
If
what he
you know
announced.
him as Little Bow Wow or Bow Wow, but apparently he's retiring.
Yes, he announced that he's retiring.
After 10 years of his last song. Very interesting, Mr. Chad Moss.
Shad, don't do him like that.
I don't know. I honestly don't even know his name. I know him as Little Bow Wow. You just don't know.
You just don't bounce. No, but he announced that on Twitter, and politicians, everybody was like,
He also
really?
announced that he wasn't black. So
yeah, this is true. He did.
I don't know. So how are you guys feeling? How was your week?
Good.
Amazing.
It's been actually pretty slow in politics this week,
It
no?
has, yeah. It really has.
It's Olympics.
Yeah, that's true. So everybody's attention is on that.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
That should not be the focus, but it's all good. We love our athletes. Coming up, I just want to talk to you guys about Obama breaking prison sentences.
I know.
So far in his presidential candidacy, first of all, I was trying to take over our show because he can't have a show.
I know.
That's what's funny. Anyway, I want to welcome you to Black Hollywood's live political culture. My name is Elayna. You can find me at Hey It's Lay.
What's going on, guys? You can follow me at Sorrells.
And we have two guest hosts with
Woo!
us today. I'm so happy that you guys are here. We have Walker Ragsdale and Joseph Powell. We have entertainment publicist and TV and film music producer here. I'm so excited that you guys are here. How excited are you guys here to be here?
I'm excited. I'm ready to get down to it.
I know.
I'm very excited. I'm a fan of the show myself. I'll view and watch every week, so I'm excited to feel in the flesh.
Clearly, you see how excited I was. I was like, oh wait, who am I? Who are you? Let's just get into the Obama breaking sentences. I just was not there for it, but it's all good. So I'm happy to have you guys on. I do want to talk about Obama breaking a lot of prison sentences. So far in his term, he has ended about 562 prison sentences in total.
Yeah.
And that's a big number.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of controversy about that. People feel like that's not what he should be focusing on, even though that he did announce back in 2014 that was going to be one of his initiatives. So I just want to get your intake on that. How do you feel about that?
I was actually really surprised as far as, and it's actually a good thing because you see so many times that prisoners are wrongly accused and for something, even petty crimes, even something as, you know what I mean? And so these prisoners end up staying and getting these lifelong sentences. So it's refreshing to know that Obama is actually, doing his part and really making sure that these prisoners get their release and they're not sitting in jail forever for that. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
Yeah, and he's inspiring other governors and stuff to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Because Virginia's governor, Terry McAuliffe, just gave all of the felons in Virginia their right to vote again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if it's, giving people a second chance, what this country is all about, I'm all for it.
Yep.
I just think it's so important for him to bring consciousness to the whole fact that this is a legitimate problem that we have in our legal justice system, that this is people slip between the cracks and accidents do happen, but to have a president legitimize it by freeing these people or bringing consciousness to it is very, very important in my opinion.
Right. So he went on record and said that, just a lot of them didn't have threatening crimes that they've committed, which makes sense for me. So I guess one of the reasons why it is a big controversy is because a lot of the people that he's letting off, because they were charged for like petty crimes and things that are non-violent, it's almost like it's causing a rift into certain communities.
Absolutely.
One of them being the African American community.
Absolutely.
You know that a lot of both men and women are incarcerated for things like small drug charges and just petty thefts and they get 20 years to life and it becomes this like, okay, is that, do you guys think with all that's been happening in the past month and in the past weeks, that this is also another way that the government kind of works against certain communities?
I feel like by him doing this, he's kind of
shedding light.
Shedding light and showing that it is, statistically, African Americans get harder sentences
that's a fact,
against anyone else. So by him doing that, it's saying, hey, this is an issue. This is something that needs to be done. And, I may not be able to fix all of it, but we have to start somewhere.
Right, and that's a good point, because I think that Obama is African American man himself. He's not blind to it. He's from Chicago. You know what I mean? And that's he's used to seeing these type of things. And I think that, like I said, him taking a lead and finally doing something about it. And especially African American men and Latinos too. They spend way more time, and it'll be the exact same crime or petty crime, to a Caucasian. So I think that he's definitely doing a good direction doing that.
I think an interesting thing is that I've seen that some black people feel like he should do more because he is, the first black president. That's his plight that he should be doing, and it's
Fixing
almost
everything.
It must be fixing everything, and it's one of those things where it's like, you do.
It's a lot on his plate.
Yeah, it's a lot on your plate.
That's a good point, and I actually want to get into that a little later in the topics, because it's kind of all going to make a full circle as far as the black community feeling like President Obama is not doing much. Right. So although he did, break a number of sentences this past week, it's still not enough, because that spotlight was ruined a little bit with the possibility that the U.S. has possibly paid off $400 million in ransom for 4 American lives.
Yeah.
And what's so odd about that is, the Republican nominee, Donald Trump, he actually exposed the video that shows military personnel taking cash off of the trucks and etc., which is how all of this blew up. And it started as a way of him trying to attack Hillary Clinton. Yeah. And now, she was a part of the Obama administration, so that's going to fall back on his administration and him as well, right. which took the spotlight off of
what Barack was doing.
What he just did. So we don't even know, first, how do you guys even feel about that? The fact that he even exposed something that we may have not needed to know.
Honestly, I can't even be surprised by Trump anymore. I feel like Trump is going to throw anything he can to kind of, I don't want to, God forbid, let me knock on something, to take office. But I think he's doing every little sneaky move. And like you said, something that wasn't even necessary for us to know, for the public to know. You know what I mean?
And he doesn't work in facts. So let's get some facts going on.
Okay, you got the fact. He got the fact.
The facts. The video there was no video. He even admitted on Friday that, the video I saw was actually the prisoners being released. Wow. So there was no actual video, just like how he said he saw the towers come down during 9/11. That lies. So we can debate whether or not we believe the reasoning for the money, but the reason that the government says is that we had frozen assets from Iran back when Jimmy Carter was president. Yeah. So this is money that we technically owed them.
We owed them $1.7 billion.
Yes. So they got paid, and it.
Well, they only got the first installment. That $400 million was only the first installment of the $1.7 billion that was owed. So that's one.
Yeah.
But also, people need to also realize before they try to do, it was a payoff. We actually exchanged prisoners. That was a part of the Iran deal. Is that we gave them some of their guys, and we got our guys back as well. So I think that the optics of it happening all at the same time,
like a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we, like you said, the public doesn't
all the
see
time usually. Because of it's election year, these things get thrown to the forefront.
Yeah,
and that's just what we're dealing with.
But when you have a man who's willing to go out and just lie about anything,
that's true.
So I'm assuming that you are you're not in the independent. You're not a Republican. That's what it sounds like. Like you're just
kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I like to think I'm in the middle.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a Bernie person, so.
You didn't feel the burn?
I did not feel
it. Well, okay. If you guys were in favor of Donald Trump as president, how would you feel about although there's been a lot of controversies, how would you feel about this more recent incident? Would you feel confident, trusting him if it actually was a ransom pay? Granted, we have laws against that, but if it was, how would you feel about that?
Here's the thing. Trump, and last week I just talked about that, how Trump lied as far as even getting an NFL letter. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're going to lie about something as small as receiving an NFL letter, you already got caught out and embarrassed by it, that the guy was like, no, we didn't send you a letter saying that. So it's just like little things like that. You're not making it any better for yourself for bigger, important issues for me to trust you. So I just want Trump to go away, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, my grandma always said,
Just stick to what he's doing, businessman, and
Finally,
you can't trust people who do. If you lie about small things, you'll lie about big things.
there it is. There it is.
finally,
right there.
it's not me this time
See?
that's saying all of these things. So I actually think that I deserve a pat on the back because it's not
usually you go in
it's
on
not
Trump.
me this time. Anyway, moving forward, you know that we briefly talked about how the Olympics is happening now, and it's happening in Rio. If you guys don't know, which you should by now, there's a virus going around, particularly in that country, the Zika virus, and basically, if you can get bit by a mosquito, that's how the virus can become contagious. It's very dangerous to women who are pregnant because their babies can be born deformed in a sense. So first of all, it's really scary that we're having the Olympics in a country that has this virus. So that means all the U.S. We have people. We have all the U.S. personnel that are competing. Once they come back home, if they got bit by a mosquito,
Yeah. And there's a lot of, and they were talking about that on the news that there's been a lot of they didn't show up to the Olympics that were supposed to be in. A lot of
Afraid.
people, afraid to go and compete. I'm like, you're gonna really miss the Olympics, like, to get a gold medal because they were so terrified of this virus. You know what I mean? So,
do you guys think that it's another outbreak like the Ebola? Because when Ebola came out, everyone was scared about it, and they were being a little frantic. Do you think that the Zika virus is something similar?
But people die from Ebola.
Mm-hmm.
People don't die from Zika.
I was just about to say that.
It's a different aspect, but it's being broadcast and put out there the same way. But if you look at the death rate, it's not the same.
It's
not
none. Like, even, and I compared it to the West Nile virus. West Nile virus was huge, especially in Texas. I mean, they had to spray every night, and that's killing people. That was legit. People were dying from West Nile virus. So when I did my research and I looked, I'm like, what does it happen with Zika virus? And it was just like a headache. You take some Tylenol for the week and it kind of goes away. So
unless you're pregnant.
Absolutely, yeah. So I was a little relieved. I'm like, okay, well, it ain't too bad, but it's still, obviously a risk. So yeah.
Well, maybe that explains why the government's so slow to move to fund or do anything about it, because it's a media story.
Yeah,
it's more of a media story,
To spin that and make it bigger than what it is. Yeah.
But there's a lot of other things going on in Brazil right now too. There's a lot of civil unrest. Racial tensions is going on right now in the city between the citizens and the government itself.
Yeah.
So the whole city is on an imbalance at this
and
point.
the president is being impeached at the moment.
Exactly.
So
There was a photo that was circulating around social media, and I wish I had it. I'll probably tweet it out later for you guys. And it was on the first day that the Olympics started. There's the fireworks and there's the arena, and there was a photo of what looked like kids in a dark shadow, and they looked like they were malnurtured, and they were sitting on like a brick wall just staring out toward the fireworks. And it was actually a very sad photo.
It was just like,
if you've ever been on the outside of the in crowd, just imagine that feeling times 10. Like, imagine it on a complete life level, like not as much food, poor housing, and so it was very hard to look at that photo, and I guess that is why the government is slow to respond. However, the Zika virus isn't only breaking out in Rio; it's also breaking out. There's been 16 cases in Florida, which is not exciting because I'm from Florida, and that makes me, a little nervous to go home.
I know, and then I think I forgot he's the Jamaican guy, a Beanie Man. He was trying to travel to go to Canada to perform for a concert,
and he got the
Zika virus.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like,
and he tweeted about it on social media, and he was like, he was in the hospital bed, and he was like, oh, this virus
so
sucks.
random. I was like, Beanie Man, what? Like, where have you been?
Apparently, so Mark Rubio and Rick Scott both have come forward about the Zika virus, but I first want to talk about Mark Rubio. And people don't realize that we just talked about I compared Ebola to the Zika virus.
Yeah.
And we talked about how the death rates aren't the same for the two. However, because of Mark Rubio, there's a conversation now of whether women should be able or allowed to get abortions if diagnosed with the Zika virus. So a lot of people don't know that if you are in favor of a certain politician and they are either pro-life or pro-choice, if in the coming weeks or coming months, a woman happens to get diagnosed with Zika, do you think that they should have how does that affect our community? How does that affect our society? Does that make you, wherever you stand, and you don't have to expose that stance, but wherever you stand, does it make you kind of second guess whether you are pro-life or pro-choice because this disease can affect their babies?
I think that the community will be affected by that. I think a lot of women will kind of shift, and you know what I mean. Their I guess their thoughts as far as if they're pro-choice or not. It's kind of hard to say, just because I can understand both sides. I can get that if a virus breaks out and they don't want the baby to be suffering, you know what I mean. I could understand why them being pro-choice. So I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn with that right now.
What about you, from a man's perspective? How do you feel about that?
I think it definitely is. I think it's a wake up call to people who, you know, feel one way or don't think that anything can happen to your child, or think that, you know, you can have a healthy baby and it can just, everything can go according to plan. But now that you have something threatening that process, it has to make you think twice.
Yeah. If you are watching and you're in the chat room, go ahead and leave your comments. I would love to get more into that. And just to correct myself, Senator Marco Rubio actually said he does not think that women who get affected by the Zika virus should be allowed to have abortions. So he feels like they should go
full term with the baby.
Right.
Yeah. Marco Rubio is extremely pro-life. He doesn't even believe in any, like, in the health of the mother. He's still against that, having abortions for that.
Yeah.
Like, so rape, incest, health of the mother. He's
like
very
still,
which will be very interesting if this outbreak, because as of today, I think they have it under control. But if this continues and there becomes an issue, he's up for re-election fairly soon. So
you don't know how he would change his mind, or
I don't think he would change his mind, but I think women in Florida would change his mind for him and vote him out.
Yeah, that could work like that.
I don't know if they'll actually change, because if they are already in favor of him, then they already know that he's an extreme pro-life personnel. You know what I mean?
I think it's one thing to know someone and then have an outbreak where you can see, because when you can like actually see that someone's struggling or something's going to happen, at least I think you would change your mind.
Well, no, that's what's interesting about it, is you would think that people, if they have a close relationship with them, or they see it, or they know someone who knows someone, that they'll be like, okay, no, don't go full term with the pregnancy, abort the baby, or not, however it feels. However, that's not what happens. Like, we see that with the presidential nominees now. We would think that if you're watching him, Donald Trump, be aggressive and attack people, and you know, if you
say racist slurs,
if you see that, you would think that you'll be like, no, that's not what we want. But there are actually a number of people who are in favor of that. So we would think that the women who are in support of him right now may be like, nah, Mr. Rubio,
we're still right.
But in actuality, they might not care. They might feel like, I'm not going to get affected with the virus. No one around me is going to get affected with the virus. This is not going to affect.
That's typically the mentality, too.
It
can't happen to me.
With anyone. And I think until it's at your back door, it's like, oh. And just like you were saying about the races and stuff, of course, like, that's because there are no people of color there. So
what do you mean when you say the races?
The Trump
election?
The Trump supporters.
Oh, okay.
So if
except those two black women that were on stage that Trump pretty much hired.
Omarosa. He has
But those people ain't Omarosa's friends. They don't even like Omarosa.
You know what's funny in this situation? As me, I can't speak. I can't speak for everybody. I don't know. I am still asking and begging for any Trump supporters to just have a conversation with me. Sit down. Let's go grab some lunch.
This is fact though, because literally Elayna has been talking about this for weeks and like begging, like, please, any Trump supporters, please
just
come.
educate
We're
me
not gonna attack you.
on
we
your
just want to
stance.
know what your stance is.
If you're watching, please come on the show. Like, I really just, because honestly, it comes down to a point where a lot of us have different perspectives. Yes. A lot of us have grown up with different experiences. Mm-hmm. So my perspective on life may not be your perspective on life. And although we may agree on certain things, we may disagree on something. Mm-hmm. So there may be things that you hear Donald Trump say that can be very true. Yeah. And I just want to understand how you process that, because any encounter I have, I feel like it's going to be a positive encounter, because there's going to be some kind of knowledge exchange. Mm-hmm. Either you're going to tell me about a story that you've encountered or that you've experienced, and I'm going to do the same, and I can walk away more experience, like more
aware of something new,
with more
new
wisdom
knowledge,
in a sense. Because now when I speak, it won't be from an ignorant standpoint.
Just one dynamic. Yeah.
I've had plenty of debates and back and forth with Trump supporters, whether online or in person, and I think that I understand where their perspective lies, and I think that the idea or attraction to Trump is not in his policies or his plan. It's in the symbol of what he represents, and it represents a comfort zone, something that this country has had for a long time, which is supremacy, complete supremacy. And now that you have a black man in a White House, that represents change, that represents something progressive, and that is the difference. And I think that alone will separate a lot of people.
Right.
I think that plays a heavy part. I think it's also, I'm coming from more of a political, I'm trying to be fair on both sides. I think there's a lot of people in this country, and I'm not blaming anyone, that live in the mountains or the hills, and their jobs,
America,
their jobs are gone, and they're looking for someone to blame. But what they don't realize is that it's technology. Those jobs that you had in those factories, those mill jobs, that's just, we don't use that anymore. And the issue, and if you're really angry, you need to teach your community that education. Okay, so these jobs aren't coming back. They're never coming back. They're never coming back. You need to go to school and you need to learn a new trade. You go to nursing school, learn programming, go graphic design.
But everyone doesn't want to restart and put that work in all over if they feel like they've already had it. If you lived a privileged, quote unquote, some people may disagree, but if you lived a privileged life, as far as having access to jobs and having access to certain resources, when you no longer have those resources, you're almost just like, what?
It's pressure. It applies pressure. When a pressure is applied, you have to do extra things. You have to work a job, go to night school, do these extra things, and get extra skills to bring to the table. When you're in a comfort zone, you don't have to do.
And not to bring it to race, but African Americans, we know how to.
Yes, exactly.
We know how to balance.
That's why they feel
and we've had to fight versus when you've had stuff easier. You've had life easier, and you're like, oh wow.
You don't know what struggle fight is.
I don't know what struggle is. What is this feeling?
Because if you're black, you feel like, okay, just me alone is not going to get this job. I have to have this. I have to do this. I have to have this experience and this background to bring to the table just to get recognized.
Right.
And black people know that and understand it. And now that pressure is starting to take place in our society when it comes to education, when it comes to business and employment.
Right. Which is why we need to have more of these conversations and actually not just talk about it, but cross-reference experiences. People feel like if they disagree, then they can't talk. No, we need to all be at the table so that we can we almost shape our world in a sense. So I'm so thankful that I am able to sit at this panel and talk with you guys about these topics. And thankfully, you guys can watch this show for free. B, tell them why.
Yes. So this show obviously is brought to you completely free and to support our sponsors. So today's sponsor is General Assembly. Looking for a career in tech, maybe business, data, design, or marketing, trying to get that promotion or raise? To excel in your career, you need 21st century training and skills. General Assembly is the largest and most respected school worldwide for people seeking to grow their talents and master the marketplace. Whether it's learning remotely online or in person at one of their beautiful campuses, you can join the 350,000 people who have already been training, needed to propel careers in tech and businesses. More than 2,500 companies worldwide hire GA graduates, with 99% of graduates who participate in GA's career services landing a new role and field within 6 months of starting their job search. Take control of your talent and career now. Find out more at ga.co/geek. That's ga.co/geek. You can enter the promo code GEEK to save your first class workshop or event.
Oh, wow. That fit in just what we were just talking about.
Yeah, I know. Technology.
Exactly.
General Assembly, there it is.
So Trump supporters are watching. Go there and you can do
General
it.
Assembly, there
General
it is.
Assembly.
Moving on, in the past week and a half, there's been a lot of news about another shooting that's taken place. This one was a little different in my opinion, and I do want to briefly get your perspectives on it. Korrine Gainez was murdered in Baltimore, and after a standoff, because she actually had a shotgun in her hand, and this was the first case where we had someone murdered and they had a weapon in hand and on them. So I just briefly want to know your perspectives on this particular shooting.
I'm going to be really, really honest.
Yeah.
Let me just backtrack because I was at work. I got home and Joseph actually showed me the footage of her, and I boo-hooed. I cried my eyes out. Yeah, when the story first broke, I cried my eyes out. And I think because it hit me because it was just like, man, this could be my mother. What's the difference? You know what I mean? It could be my mother or anybody, you know? And so, and to know that her child was there, that was just like, really? And then he got shot. And I'm just like.
In her arms.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it's just it's happened too many times, you know what I mean? And now you have an innocent child who was in danger of that. So I was just heartbroken and on both sides, you know what I mean? So. Yeah. I know you have a lot to say about that topic because you were pretty.
I mean, it's just a tragic story all the way around. And then again, I can understand because they said that she did a lot of reading on some kind of organization called the Sovereign Citizen. So she was really applying these ideals to when she was dealing with police officers. And so when I watched the video of her, because actually she did a lot of documentation from the point when she was first pulled over, which is why they were serving warrants to her for this previous
encounter.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's sad to see how she had she had courage is what really, you know what I'm saying, like gave me, when I first heard about the story that made me gravitate to her was just the courage, because actually her boyfriend was in the house with her, and he ran out. When the cops knocked on the door, he grabbed the little girl and ran away, and left her and the other child there with these cops. So it just shows you the courage of her, but just her accuracy in how to handle the situation, I feel, was flawed in a number of different ways.
Right.
And I feel like it's just sad that our young generation is just not educated enough to know how to apply these certain things when dealing with police officers in those types of situations.
I think that's where my perspective come in almost. Yeah. So when I did a cold read of the story, I'm just like, are you serious? Not again. Like, you know, we've already gone into it, we've dedicated. And then when I did more research and was actually trying to get the details of it, the first red flag was the fact that she had a shotgun in her hand. Some police officers, not all police officers, some police officers, we talked about how there is like this fear mechanism against people of color. So if you are holding a gun at them, what makes you think that they're not going to shoot you if they're shooting people with no weapons? If they're shooting people who are unarmed, like that's just one. Even if you are doing all the right policies, even if you are in your home and you have a registered gun, we kind of, like, it's been talked about, it's been exposed. We kind of know how it goes. And as an officer, if I were an officer, even from a person of color to a person of color, don't point a gun at me. Like I feel threatened. I literally have a reason to feel threatened. And then I watched a video of one of the encounters when she got pulled over, and you know, they weren't trying to arrest her. They was just trying to tow her car because it didn't have a tag. Yeah, that's law. Like that.
Exactly.
Nothing about.
You can't pull onto a state highway and then not want to abide by the laws that you have to abide by, or you operate your motor vehicle on state property.
Right.
That's just, like I said, if you're on your property, these people are stepping on your property, then I can understand. But when you're on their sovereign territory, you got to operate by their laws. So it's just common sense.
Right. Do you have any perspectives on that one?
I actually did not watch the video because I'm just tired of those videos.
The hashtags.
It's just exhausting.
It's exhausting. But I do want to go back to one point you said about the education. This is such, like, we are living in really heated times, and unfortunately we have to carry ourselves differly. Like, we know what's going on. We know what's going on.
Which is unfortunate.
That is very unfortunate.
Because I had to go to the ER, blah, blah, blah. And I saw this Caucasian man just talking to a policeman like he was a dog. And I immediately thought, there's no way that I could say 2 words to him like that. But I know that, and I know that, and so I'm not. I think we need to, like, realize, okay, like, we need to carry ourselves differently when dealing with the police. Is it fair? No. Should we stop fighting and just say, oh, this is it, how it's going to be, and forgive up? No, we should keep on, but at the same time, we have to be smart and make good choices.
So earlier, we talked about how some people won't feel like President Obama has done enough when we talked about him breaking some prison sentences. And then we talk about over and over how we get these hashtags, and over it's another black person being shot by the police. What initiatives do you think that people can bring to him to better represent the black community? Like, it's like we're always talking about, oh, he's not doing enough, oh, he could do this, he can do that. But what has been presented, or what can we present in order to help this situation?
Well, I know for me personally, and I've said this before on our show, that we can't do any changes to, like I said before, like things like our finances or better opportunities for African Americans if our history of being here in America is flawed. And so here again, like I said, once we can bring the truth out as far as Native Americans, African Americans being here in America, then, like I said, we can start to go and build on those things as far as improving education for black people and opportunities for us. You know what I mean? So
I think that Obama he doesn't have to change anything. He is the change. He's the symbol for what the country needed when it needed it. And the same goes for Hillary Clinton. She represents change in just who she is. You don't have to like her. You might not like her opinions or whatever, but her being the first woman president represents change, and it's a symbol, and it's powerful because that's images for
So with you bringing up the first woman president, I kind of want to move into a segment that's woman to man.
Mars and Venus.
Because I want you guys' perspective. I mean, obviously, we talk about it a lot when Drexel was here, and Drexel, we miss you. If you're at home watching, give us a shout out. Obviously, we talk about it a lot. However, I don't think we've ever kind of broke down the gender roles as far as actually having a female ruler of the free world. Does that take away the masculinity of a man in any way? Do you guys feel?
No, I think it balances. It's balance. Everything is balance. You have to have balance in every aspect of life if you want harmony. And I think that she symbolizes the change that will bring about a balance.
I agree. I think if you're a man under the age of 50, especially under the age of 30, you have that same outlook. I think it's going to be harder for men who are older.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's change. It's change. That's the key word there.
And especially when you're older as that, you remember a time when women were supposed to be submissive to you.
Absolutely.
So the idea of a woman being in charge of you
it's what it represents.
It's hurting a lot of egos, and that also plays in fact of people going to Donald Trump.
And power, even the power symbol of power alone. If you have a woman sitting there, are you as powerful? If you have a man sitting there, that's how some people will feel. But I definitely do think you're equally as powerful.
So although there has been a lot of change already, and there have been men who were comfortable being like house husbands, just like you have the housewife. They were fine taking that backseat role. Do you think now with the change of having a female president that will become more likely now, that some men won't feel the need to be in the driver's seat if the woman, feel like is that a negotiation process now? Like how does that work in your minds?
You know what? I think that we're moving more into the future as far as there's no gender roles.
Okay.
I think that people are learning to take the labels off of things. I think that it's okay if the husband or the dad cooks dinner and the woman is going out to work that day, or hey, it's your turn to wash clothes. I think that that mind frame of the 50s is outdated. So I think that now as time progresses, we won't look at it as like, oh, you're the first woman to do it. It's like, no, you deserve to have this position because of who you are, not because of what your gender is.
Right. I know you had something that you wanted to say about.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
the gender roles, especially millennials, they don't believe in labels for anything.
At all.
And that's
Out of the box, yeah.
That's kind of like if you look at the United Nations, I've read the humanitarian constitution, and it mentions something called a liberal individual. A liberal individual is genderless, classless, raceless, and that's kind of when you see the federal government and the transgender bathrooms and the way that we're moving, that's kind of the idea that you see them trying to creep into our society, is to look at people without these labels in front of them. But there's going to be a tug of war because of the change issue and people who are comfortable the way things were.
Yeah,
have been.
I don't think it's going to be an issue. I agree. I don't think there should be an issue. If a man wants to stay home in 2016, I don't know who can afford to only have one person working in the house.
Right.
But hey, if you can afford it, more power to you.
Switch roles.
I know we have, like, with us millennials, especially in this election, we have a lot of labels being broken. We have, gender roles being broken. We have sexuality being broken. We're trying to get race to be broken. We don't want people to see color. We don't want people to see us for who we date. We don't want to see people to see us for our gender. We don't want to be put in a box to use certain bathrooms. Like, we're trying to break out and be free in a sense. So I think that that's a good point to ponder on. Just even in our personal lives, how many things are we still labeling? Because we can talk about it as a group, but when we walk out of here in our minds without us actually verbalizing things, are we still labeled? Like if I see someone else who's not like me, am I still like if I see a man, am I just like, okay, I need to let him be the man and let me just sit in the back seat? Or am I actually, stepping up because I want to step up? So I think that's something we need to take.
And embracing people's differences.
Yeah.
Like you said, just because you like oranges and I like apples, I don't need to say you need to eat apple. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to like you because you got oranges, you're going to like me for apples. And I think that's the issues a lot in America that we see, is that because your differences aren't like mine or my similarities, then we have to struggle back and forth. So I think respecting each other's differences is what makes a balance.
So I think that's at least an action that we can take on our own. Just be more cautious of labels. With all that being said, B, what's happening around the world?
Oh my gosh, guys. So there's so much going on. First off, I kind of chuckled at this. The Fairfax, Virginia mayor was arrested recently, Mayor Richard Scott, this past Friday, for a meth for sex. It was some undercover police officers who basically caught him in the act of paying for sex with meth drugs. So Dave, that's your place over in Virginia. So
I actually haven't even heard of the story. It sounds really just crazy to me.
So he got arrested Friday. So they're gonna be bringing up charges, and so we'll see, where that leads to, because they got it all on camera. They haven't released the footage yet, so they'll literally see him in this hotel with the drugs being exchanged with the prostitute. Is he up for re-election? I believe he is. So
that's not okay. Not okay.
Next up, Delta Airlines had a global outage. And it literally, people were stranded. Politicians were upset. They were missing things. They were literally stranded around the world there at the airport. And it showed that it was just a technical difficulties. All the planes were literally not leaving, so that caused a huge backup. Literally,
I saw a few of my friends post on social media about how they were stuck in airports for 24 plus hours.
Yes, literally.
I can't imagine.
There.
I would lose my
There's
mind.
no way. There's absolutely no way. And then lastly, Texas, my place. They went ahead. I have to shout out Texas. They went ahead and relaxed the voter rules. So coming when we vote later on this fall, that you won't need a picture ID.
Okay.
As long as you do have something just showing your name, that'll be good to go, and you'll be able to cast your vote.
Well, that's exciting because we did talk about voter
and we were talking about
yeah.
Texas, so they literally just announced. I was super excited. I'm like, great. So people who, like I said, lost their ID or whatever the case, if you don't have it, you can still vote.
Yeah, so even if you're not from Texas, make sure that you are still researching your states about the voter laws, because if you go with the wrong ID, you will not be able to vote, and they will definitely call you out on it, hey, you can't come in, and that's been what's caused a lot of discrepancies with past elections. So we definitely want to stay on it, especially
in Florida.
Wow, shady. Come on, B. Just because we talk about Texas don't mean you have to go there. You know what? With that said, I think it's time to wrap this show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at BHL Polyculture using the hashtag BHLPC. You can follow me at Hey It's Lay.
I am Walker R.
You can follow me at B Sorrells.
And at Who is Joe Powell?
And until next time, guys, we'll see you next week.
Bye. And Drexel will be back, right?
He will be back.
From producers Maria Menounos, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, Keven Undergaro, and the entire BHL crew, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us at info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I'm your BHL announcer, Scipio. Instagram me at Planet Scipio. Thank you for tuning in.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.